the work group. So the attendance, Councilmember Martinez sent me a text earlier this afternoon and said he wasn't able to make it. And so we are joined by Councilmember Shiltz, Mayor ProTem McFerren, Councilmember Dominguez, and Councilmember Parizek. So working the first part of our work tonight is on the pool issue. And this is, I want to emphasize the beginning. That as I've talked with members of the council and people in the community, the pool is something very important and something that we want to continue working on. These will be the initial steps in doing so. We have a lot of issues, or had a lot of issues with the pool. The water loss, the impact that had on the neighbors, the aging of the system, and the potential danger, I think, was kind of the major concern for me. That as we can hear from Lenny more on this, but the potential for breaks out of the pockets underneath the pool, I think, are a major concern. So with that, why don't I turn it over to Lenny?
Yeah. No, really, the big item is the, like you mentioned, this is really the first step. It's unfortunate that the pool is closed this summer, but a lot of that has to do with some of the investigation that the city's already gone through. Terracon previously, I think about a year ago, performed what is called ground penetrating radar on the system. We've reviewed those reports, and what it did show is quite extensive soil loss below the structure of the pool, and it's hard to exactly pinpoint exactly where that's at because the pool has been full for most of the season, and during the winter time, we hadn't gotten out there and done that yet. So really, the big thing is identifying what the issues are at that pool. The first step is in our contract that we sent over is to do a deep dive into the existing condition of the pool, focusing on some of those areas where there's water loss going on. Also looking at the equipment, seeing what age the equipment is, what is in still decent shape, what needs to be addressed, and then really putting together a approach that would look at how could the pool be improved, what are the things that could be done, what are the costs associated with that. For instance, the ceiling, when it comes to the water loss, there's a lot of it that's shown where it could be cracks in the bottom of the pool, but there's a lot of it that doesn't follow along general cracks. And most likely what that means is the piping that's embedded in the concrete. There's probably structural issues with that piping that we have to identify and figure out what would be the proper repair option for that. And then work with the city, the council, have some public engagement meetings after we get that condition assessment complete. And that would be done in May, next month, knowing that we'd be getting going after this meeting tonight, and really focusing in on what is the existing condition, what are the next paths forward. I know the goal is to try and really have that pool. I spent many summers there growing up, so I have fond memories of that pool. And then the other aspect that I haven't mentioned yet is now that there's going to be some work done at the pool, we also have to evaluate it from a code compliance. Anytime you do work at the pool, so the bath house is one aspect that we have to go through. Our architects will have to go through and make sure that there's it meets code compliance. Where is it not meeting code compliance? What needs to be done to be able to meet code? And that would also be identified in that report. And then, like I said, after we got done with that, we'd be meeting with the city council, our board. If you want, we could have another public engagement meeting with the public, discuss what those are, what those costs are, and then really decide is repairing the existing pool. I don't know at this time, so I really don't know what the feasibility is of repairing the existing pool, or because some another alternative have to be looked into at that time. I know that the city has looked into some preliminary costs of doing a new pool, so to speak, which came with quite a hefty price tag with it. So we would be also looking at it, talking with the community, understanding what are the goals of what this project would be, to understand that what's important to the community members. So then we can also or factor that in, and then try and come up with the right size solution is really what we want to come to. And then that would be in June. And then July, we would be putting together the full-on master plan. After we've had those opportunities to talk with the board, the park board, the council, and the community regarding Wellestown and that condition assessment. And then that master plan would be putting together pins of paper and actually coming up with some concepts of what either rehabbing the old pool would be, maybe an alternative, what a new pool would look like. Does it get smaller? What type of features do you want with that? I know one aspect for a little kid that's popular all over is splash pads. So that would be something that we would evaluate, looking at as one of the potential options to add to the existing facilities. But really the first step is just really understanding what's there and coming up with a line by line item of what that cost would be to repair it, and is it usable or is it something that has to be replaced? And then at the end of this would be hoping or looking at what could we do to get the pool by after this study to have it be open again. And I don't know at this time if that's a feasible option, but the big thing is due to the leaking that's occurring, already the loss of soil underneath, it is a safety issue. And we don't want to have upset neighbors also because that water will find its way anywhere, the path of least resistance. So it could end up in neighbors' basements, we don't know. It could end up somewhere else, it could create sinkholes. So we just want to make sure that we're not adding to the issue. And so understanding what those issues may be.
Other questions or comments?
Does the compliance also involve the chemical room?
Yeah, it's a full evaluation of that. So that's where I'll come into play with my water treatment background, and the civil side. But we'll have our architects there, our mechanical engineers there, our structural engineers will look at the pool, the structure of the concrete. And then we'll also have our facilities manager, our facilities team that does facility assessments. They're also looking for code compliance. And then the other piece is just operations and future viability of how are we going to pay for it. That will be part of the master plan. How are we going to get paid for it? Fundraising, any grant opportunities. The unfortunate thing is just to be upfront and transparent. Grant opportunities for pools are very few and far between, but there are opportunities out there. It's just not going to be large sums. So it's going to be more of a how many smaller grants are you able to obtain to help offset the total cost. And then the other piece is making it as operationally friendly as it possibly can to limit costs and operations. So it's the other thing that we have to look at as far as future maintenance.
I had another question.
Yes.
In regards to, well, I'm not an engineering standpoint, of course, but in regards to the voids underneath, is that an indication of how maybe not appropriate that area is? Or would that, once we decide we're going to do some investment in it, would those be rectified? Or how does that?
That would, the intent would be is understanding what the actual cause is of that and where is it leaking. Like I said, some of it is going to be through the cracks that are in the pool. But the other piece that we don't know, and part of the reason why having the pool closed is so we can actually get some access to the piping underneath and seeing what that piping looks like and understanding what the issues is with that piping. But as far as soils and everything, regardless of what type of soil, it's probably better that it's not just holding water and causing issues with freeze thaws or holding water in that area, because when it freeze thaws, you start to see that when that pool is draining in the wintertime, you'd see that water expand. And it would actually cause structural issues to the pool. So really what it's amounting to is it's finding its least path of resistance, a sand seam in the soil somewhere, and it's washing that soil. So whether there's storm sewer in the area, sanitary sewer in the area, anywhere that water can get to, it's going to find its way to. And it could end up being someone's basement.
So
not saying it will, but that is a potential outcome.
So potentially, I mean, could very well go in the same spot.
It could very well go in the same spot. And it might be a rehab. It could be something just sealing those areas, and then there's fill that you could put in that you could inject in there that would fill in those voids.
But it would still be at risk for cracking.
All concrete's gonna crack. So.
Especially 100-year-old or 50-year-old?
I can't remember the last improvements were done in the late nineties, or the early nineties, and we got all those documents,
Okay.
so we have that on file, so we'll start looking through all those, the last improvements, and then I know the slide was added at some point in time. It was after I was a little kid, I know that, but, because it wasn't really custom.
Yeah, I liked the, at the end of the report about wanting to engage with the community. I know a long time ago, we did the comprehensive, we engaged with the community on several occasions with focus groups.
Yes.
So, I assume that's what we're gonna do again.
Correct. Yeah, that would be the big thing is really we gave you a cost to get that initial assessment done and be able to start having the discussions to understand what the path is forward. So then we know exactly what direction the city wants to go and the community at that standpoint, because schools are something that communities, especially the size of Westerly, value.
What I don't want to happen is that we've already paid for assessments, we've already paid for plans of splash pads and all this stuff, and nothing happened to it. And then I don't want you all to come in and us pay for it again. So like, what are you using that information?
Yeah, we have all that information.
But we're not gonna do it again, right?
I don't know if a true condition assessment has been done out there with the pool drain or anything like that. So that's really what we'd be doing. We'd be starting from the ground floor and moving forward. And then the last assessment that was done at the pool, that was, I don't know how involved that was.
I don't think it was very well, because I remember the engineering firms coming to discuss, but there was nothing finalized. Like, we didn't pay for any surveying or,
we did the options or information was all above,
right.
and it did not.
How much did we pay for that study?
I have to take a
Thousands, I bet.
Yeah, I have to take a look back and see.
That's unfortunate. Sorry, I'm in a bad mood today.
It's a fair question.
I am not trying to project on anybody here. I love all of you.
It is.
I'm in a mood today, and I just came from the brand new facility over at, they're having a track meet over there that we didn't get to run on or play on.
You got the hearts.
And it's a millions of dollars facility. And then they're also, and I know the school is different, but we had people come from a community and donate thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to have that beautiful thing. And I don't understand where the holdup is from the community to just improve the pool. And they want to go online and they want to say, we don't, but nobody is saying, okay, let's do something. Let's raise millions of dollars like we did for the Puttick, complex.
I think that is being said. It's just options haven't quite been discussed and presented yet.
Yeah.
But I definitely think all of those will be coming.
Correct. And really, you want to have a good understanding of what's there and can it be salvaged? Because it would be nice if you can salvage it and turn it into something that can look like you want it to moving forward for the next 50 years. Unfortunately, with those previous concepts, it was a lot of change. It was kind of using the existing facility, but changing it quite a bit. And I don't know how much involvement there was as far as a community perspective or anything like that, because they were pretty pricey options, and there will probably be that pie in the sky option that everyone's going to want to see and see the cost of, and then you really start working your way down from there. What is truly attainable and what is affordable for the city. So, and I think once you start, my experience in the past is once you start getting those those concepts prepared, those ideas thrown, and you start involving the public, you get a lot more buy-in from the community. And I know I've had people reach out to me, and I haven't even discussed the pool with the council yet, that I know from my past, interested in it. So I know there's a lot of people that are interested in the pool. It's just, you gotta start walking first before you're able to get full support from everyone. So
I don't ever remember, I've lived here forever too, and I don't remember ever having a comprehensive study that detailed the outlines and the future of the pool. If there was one, then I just don't remember it. But this approach, to me, we can all sit around and try to answer questions for people that are contacting us, but without the study, without concrete evidence of what's actually going on, and getting them together into a room, whoever wants to join us, and telling them the facts and figures, it's gonna be just things pulling out of the air, right? So, I mean, unfortunately, we're here where the pool's not operable and we gotta do something, because we all want a pool, we all know that.
Now's the time with it being closed, now's the time to get that done, and hopefully. Now, the full option won't be ready by next year. I mean, like any major improvement that would need to be done, it's not gonna turn around in a year, because you gotta go through fundraising, you gotta go through funding. You gotta build the plan, and then permitting through the state, it takes some time too. But as part of that, you're able to identify what can be done and get you buy-in, so that new project or that improvement would come. So hopefully there's some things that are identified in that study too, that can be done temporarily to get that pool back open.
I think the point also is that, the community has, complained about property tax and the cost of property tax. And, so I'll just step back and say, when I stepped into the role and now, a lot of this information, especially with the disintegration of under the pool, everything had always been done above the pool. And so as you walked out there when we visited, you could see, right? And so staff and all of us were like, wait, what can we do? I won't tell you how I came up with the idea to ask about ground penetration. It may have something to do with true crime, and we'll leave it at that. But I asked if there was a way that we could, because I was concerned that we would have a large sinkhole occur while people were in the pool. And is that a reality or not? And as you've seen from that study, I mean, it certainly could be a possibility because of the voids. So just as Lenny's saying, it's like we have to peel back those layers and identify, what's going on underneath the existing, and then know how we're gonna do this from that ground up. And so identifying. The other thing is that this will, we definitely always want the community involved in it, but the bigger part of it is they're gonna be the decision makers on funding this with property tax. So the cost, even if we're just to renovate, most likely we will have to go to a referendum vote in order for our community members to make that decision. So one, it's important to have them tied into what options are. But again, just like we're saying, we gotta, I think I told Lenny, we have to walk before we run. And unfortunately, I feel like some of the things that have been put before council before was we were running towards, this aquatic center, but we weren't identifying, because if we did that, we could have been spending change order after change order. We certainly want to have options that we can be clear on funding.
I think it's important to talk about, if there was a referendum, who would actually be paying for that. It won't be a lot of the people who don't live in town who pay the in-town property taxes using the pool. So there has to be more than just the referendum, because the people that live within the city limits are not going to be able to afford that extra increase in property tax while everybody else enjoys the pool.
That's why we hope to be able to get a campaign together.
Yeah.
And really solicit some outside funding or some official funding, whether it's through grants or government funds or whatever.
Yeah, just like we're talking about, ideally would be to raise as much so you would not have to look at, having to, do a funding that would increase property tax, unfortunately. Again, just like Lenny's saying, we do, and just remember, we did include in our mitigation plan at identifying the bathhouse and creating a storm shelter. And Lenny can maybe speak, he's had experience maybe with one similar to that.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a pool, but it was a fire. We've done it with fire stations before. Pools, bathhouse, you can create a shelter. And you can make it more of a mixed use where it could be a shelter that you could rent out at space, for the park area and everything. So you can get creative in that regard on what you can do. And then you just have to build it such that it would be considered a storm shelter for residents in town too. And a lot of times you're able to get that portion be potentially funded through FEMA or USDA.
Let's make it just a big storm shelter around the pool then.
I wish it was that simple. They might have some questions if that was the case. But
Shelter pool.
In the.
you can always start there.
And ideally, I mean, it would be domestic fundraisers and donations, but before any of that, I mean, people would donate, they want to see a plan anyway.
Correct.
I mean, who's gonna donate money if we're just like, well, we think this is what it is, but we have to have a plan to show them
Yeah.
of what the end result's gonna be before anybody's gonna dole out any money.
Yeah, and that's where our marketing would come into play. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that I'm the best at delivering that message out to the public and everything and putting together the nice pictures and everything. We got a marketing team that would help. Yeah.
But if anybody who doesn't pay property tax would like to contribute to the cost of the assessment and the engineering costs and all that, I mean, that would help considerably because we're not the only town in Iowa that are struggling with our fund right now. I mean, every little town is struggling.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, not too kind lately.
no.
Yeah, and you're, just as you're saying, I mean, so for the pool, that's it's a part of where our property tax, the programming, we have, the library, which, they as well have a capital project and other projects and, and we look at programming through Parks and Rec and more things with trade system. So, yeah, so again, that was really just wanting to have Lenny come and talk about what staff and the engineers have come up with and identified and allowing, the council, I know your constituents have been speaking as you, just to provide that input, share that, just so we can identify things early on, not saying that we want to keep an open mind too if we're moving through the process, but that's the bigger part of it.
Yeah, that's the reason for doing a phased approach, just to make sure before we take on the next step, we understand what the last step was and what's there, and then come together as a group and make sure that we're moving in sync down the same path.
You may have mentioned this, Lonnie, but so if you guys tackle this in May, when would we kind of expect a report back?
We've had that ready for June, because June is about the time where we start talking next steps and seeing how we want to involve the public moving forward. We have talked with the Parks Board, because this is including meeting with city staff, with council, the Parks Board, public engagement meetings. And at that time, we would want to get together, kind of come to a conclusion, understand what the next steps are, and then continue moving forward. So really it would be early May, like the first half of May is when we'd be getting out there, getting that condition assessment done, and then working through the end of May to get that report developed that outlines what the existing condition is, what the costs associated with the repairs would be, what can be salvaged, what can't be salvaged, and so forth, and then meet with the city to start figuring out a plan moving forward. Okay, are we gonna stick with the old pool, come up with some improvement options, or does something else need to be, some new options need to be looked at? So yeah, we'd like to have the master plan, like the entire report done by the end of July. How we have that outline. So presenting overall this is what the current schedule is now. If things come up where we need to divert or pivot, we'll discuss those at that time, but right now that's the current schedule.
And along with that, city staff then continuing our communications with the public. If any of the progress and updates, as we're moving through the process. And that way they can be prepared to say, okay, well then we should have maybe public meetings coming up, or when is our time to participate, and like we discussed it previously. So
It would kind of be nice too if there was, whether it be on the website or somewhere around in the city's Facebook, like an actual West Liberty Pool section that will just house the information as well if somebody wanted to pinpoint and track down, where we're at, what's coming, hasn't come in yet, what's the next thing coming up.
I do know with our current website, that there are some limitations. However, we can speak with communications under the Park and Rec, app side of it. We can, based on what your input is, we can look at seeing what we can provide there.
Just an idea. It'd be nice to have just something for the community to not have to tackle trying to track it down and just see it all kind of right there as well.
As we get further, maybe when we get through the condition assessment and everything, a lot of times, like I'm gonna get something set up for E6, or as construction was rolling on that, is we have a link that we send to the city that they can post on their Facebook page, and it's just a general website that gives a link to whatever project that may be. Yeah. And kind of a progress or schedule moving ahead. I haven't had a chance to discuss that because we haven't gotten that far yet with E6 Street, but that's one of the action items I plan on doing here in the next couple of weeks, actually.
The trees are coming down on it. It's a little sunny over there.
Weird.
All right, thanks. We have a few minutes before the public hearing on the budget, so thank you.
Yeah.
So do we have to have a closure? I don't.
Yep,
Okay.
and that's so, because this has to be its own separate.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of adjourning, then say aye.
Hi.
And those opposed, nay. We have it. We are adjourned.